before Helen ever launched 1,000 ships, before Clytemnestra plotted her bloody homecoming, before Circe turned men into beasts, there was a woman who needed no prophecy, no armies, and no throne to make the ancient world remember her name. Her story is not one of gentle romance or tragic innocence. No, this is a tale carved in steel and smoke, in whispered bargains and irreversible choices. It is the story of a woman whose love was not soft and yielding, but sharpened into a weapon. A woman who could bend kings to her will and burn kingdoms to the ground when they dared betray her. Her name was Medea. To some, she was a sorceress. To others, a monster. But to all, she was a force deliberate, patient, and utterly unforgettable. And if you think her story belongs to the distant past, think again. Her life holds lessons for anyone who has ever given too much, stood too loyal, or been underestimated because of love. So sit with me as we step into the shifting shadows of ancient Greece, where magic was real, loyalty was dangerous, and vengeance could be divine. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch the next exciting episodes. Far beyond Athens' gleaming marble, past the familiar shores of the Aegean, lay a land the Greeks spoke of with both fascination and unease. Colchis. It wasn't just a place, it was an idea, the edge of the map, the last stop before the horizon fell away into the unknown. To Greek storytellers, Colchis was a kingdom draped in thick forests and veiled in fog, its mountains clutching the sky. To its people, it was simply home, and in this home, power didn't come from polished temples or political alliances. It came from something older, a deep, bone-remembered knowledge of earth and blood, of herbs that could heal or kill, of rituals whispered to the wind when no gods were listening. Medea was born here, the daughter of King Ates, a man feared more than loved, and, it was said, a sea nymph mother from the endless waters of Oceanus. But her most dangerous inheritance came from her father's side. Ates was the son of Helios, the sun god. That meant Medea carried in her veins the light of the heavens and the fire that could burn them. Divine lineage is a gift and a curse. If you've ever been told you have great potential from a young age, you'll understand. Expectations weigh heavier than crowns. For Medea, being the granddaughter of Helios was both a source of awe and suspicion. She was kin to Circe, the sorceress who turned men into beasts. Unlike her famed relative, Medea would be feared for a magic that was less about spectacle and more about control. She grew up surrounded by the raw ingredients of power, fragrant herbs drying in the sun, oils pressed from rare flowers, stones warmed in sacred fires until they pulsed with strange energy. Her teachers were not philosophers, but healers, midwives, and poisoners. Her education was a kind of alchemy, blending knowledge and instinct into something the Greeks would later call pharmakeia. From a young age, Medea learned that power is most dangerous when it's quiet. She wasn't reckless. She didn't charge into battles or shout in court. Instead, she watched, she listened, she waited. Her beauty, the poets say, was striking but strange dark. Heavy hair often bound in intricate braids, deep-set eyes that seemed to look into you rather than at you. But beauty was not her weapon. Her weapon was seeing what others tried to hide. If you've ever sat across from someone who knew exactly what you were thinking, without you saying a word, you know the unnerving presence she carried. In modern terms, Medea had emotional intelligence that could cut like glass. She understood something leaders, CEOs, and negotiators still use today. Silence can be more powerful than any threat. When Jason sailed into Colchis, it was not with an army, but with a story. He came aboard the Argo, a ship carved from sacred wood, crewed by heroes whose names would echo for centuries. His mission was simple in words, but impossible in deed, to take the golden fleece from King Ates. The fleece was not just a trophy. It was a living relic, a symbol of divine favor, guarded by a sleepless dragon. Jason entered Ates' court, not with blades drawn, but with a smile. And then he saw her. Some say Aphrodite struck Medea's heart with love at Hera's request, ensuring Jason's success. Others say it was pure chance. Whatever the truth, something shifted that day. 8 demanded Jason complete 3 impossible tasks: yoke fire-breathing bulls, plow a field with them, sow dragon's teeth into the soil, and survive the warriors who would spring from it. Jason should have died in the first hour, but Medea intervened. She gave him a salve to protect his skin from the bull's flames. She whispered the secret to defeating the earthborn warriors: throw a stone among them, and they would turn on each other. In helping him, she betrayed not only her father, but her gods and her home. Imagine sacrificing your career, your family ties, and your future all for someone you barely know, driven by a feeling you can't explain. Jason succeeded in the trials, but 8 stalled. He had no intention of letting Jason leave alive, and so Medea made her most chilling choice. Her brother, Absyrtus, sailed with the pursuing fleet. In some versions, he came willingly to her, trusting her as kin. In others, he was still a boy. In every version, she killed him. But death was not the end. She cut his body into pieces and cast them into the sea. She knew her father would stop to collect them for burial, giving her and Jason precious time to escape. This was not an act of rage. It was strategy, a ruthless calculation that leaders throughout history have echoed when sacrificing their own blood for survival. Jason and Medea arrived in Iolcus with the Golden Fleece, hailed by the Argonauts as heroes. But glory fades quickly when politics enter the room. Jason's uncle, King Peleus, had taken the throne from Jason's father years earlier, and had no intention of stepping aside. Jason had the fleece as symbol of divine legitimacy, but symbols don't dethrone men who cling to power. Here Medea's cunning took center stage. She approached Peleus's daughters in secret. She told them she could restore youth, using the example of an old ram. Before their eyes, she killed the animal, boiled it with herbs, and brought forth a lamb. The princesses were entranced. Imagine seeing what looked like a miracle in a world where magic was feared, but also desperately believed in. Medea then handed them the recipe and stepped back. The daughters did exactly as she instructed, slaughtering their own father. But Peleus did not rise. His body was destroyed, his life ended, and his kingdom left in shock. It was a lesson wrapped in deception. Hope can blind you to the hands guiding your choices. It's the same principle behind modern-day scams, dangerous cults, and the false promises of miracle solutions. Exiled after Peleus's death, Jason and Medea fled to Corinth. There, for a while, life seemed to still. They had children's sons, Mose and Medea. The woman who had once scattered her brother's body across the sea became a queen and mother. Her days filled with the rhythm of the court, the laughter of her boys, the quiet moments on palace balconies. To the people, she was the foreign queen who had helped their hero. To Jason, she was stability. For the first time, it seemed the fires of ambition and vengeance had cooled. But peace can be deceptive. In relationships and in history, still water often hides dangerous currents. Jason began to see Corinth not as a refuge, but as a stepping stone. King Creon ruled with a young daughter, Glos beautiful, royal, and politically advantageous. Jason claimed that marrying her would secure his children's future, that it was a strategic alliance, not a betrayal. But in truth, it erased Medea in an instant. No crown, no voice in court, no place at his side. She was to be discarded like a cloak that had kept him warm through the storm, but was now out of fashion. If you've ever been replaced in love, in business, in friendship, you know the cold finality of that moment. Jason assumed she would accept it quietly. He mistook her stillness for surrender. Medea sent gifts to Glos, a gown and a golden crown, the kind a queen would give to a princess on her wedding day. Glos placed them on with delight, but the fabric began to smolder. The gold heated against her skin, and within moments, she was engulfed in flames. The crown fused to her head. The gown burned into her flesh. Her father, King Creon, rushed to help, but the fire leapt to him too. The palace filled with screams and smoke. When the flames died, Corinth had no princess and no king. In myths, this moment is always painted in stark moral colors. But if you strip away the supernatural, what Medea did was strike at the heart of her betrayer's new power structure. It was assassination dressed as a wedding gift. But Medea was not finished. She turned to the one thing Jason could never replace: his children. The stories diverge here. Some say she killed them to save them from revenge by Corinth's people. Others, that it was the ultimate punishment for Jason. Whatever her reason, the act has echoed for millennia. It has been called monstrous, merciful, political, and insane. But it was deliberate, and when it was done, Medea didn't stay to face judgment. As Jason returned, grief and rage consuming him, Medea was already rising into the sky. Her grandfather Helios had sent a chariot pulled by 2 great dragon serpents, with wings like burnished bronze. She vanished into the clouds, untouchable, leaving Jason broken among the ashes. In a world where gods meddled in mortal affairs, this was more than an escape. It was ascension. She was no longer a queen or a mother. She was a legend in motion. From here, the stories splinter. Some say she fled to Athens, marrying King Aegeus and bearing him a son. Others say she returned to Colchis, only to find it changed beyond recognition. And still others whisper that she never died at all, that she slipped into the unseen places where gods and monsters wait when their names are no longer spoken. This multiplicity of endings isn't just mythic chaos, it's a narrative choice. It keeps Medea elusive, uncontained, a presence you can never fully pin down. Medea's story endures, not because it is simple, but because it refuses to be. She's hero and villain, victim and executioner. Some will see her as a warning. That love turned to obsession can scorch the earth. Others will see her as a survivor, a woman who refused to let those who betrayed her walk away unscathed. The truth is, she is both, and her name has lasted longer than the kingdoms she burned, because she understood something timeless. Power is rarely given, it is taken, held, and, when necessary, burned into memory. So when you hear her name whispered in myths or echoed in plays, remember Medea is not just a story. She's a question. What would you do if the person you gave everything to tried to erase you?